Marcus Thompson had been visiting luxury stores for months as a corporate evaluator, but he'd never experienced anything like what happened at Prestige Fashion. The store manager didn't just watch him. She followed him, questioned him, and humiliated him. She had no idea she was destroying her own career.
Don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and a comment before we start to learn more about what happened.
The gleaming marble floors of Prestige Fashion reflected the crystal chandeliers hanging from the vaulted ceiling of Beverly Hills' most exclusive shopping district. The luxury department store occupied 3 floors of prime real estate on Rodeo Drive, catering to celebrities, socialites, and wealthy professionals who thought nothing of spending thousands on a single handbag or piece of jewelry. Marcus Thompson pushed through the heavy glass doors at exactly 2:30 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, adjusting the collar of his simple navy polo shirt. At 35, he had learned to dress down for these assignments, choosing jeans, casual shoes, and clothing that wouldn't immediately signal wealth or status. As a corporate mystery shopper and regional evaluator for luxury retail chains, Marcus needed to blend in as an average customer to accurately assess how stores treated different types of clientele. Over the past 18 months, Marcus had visited over 40 high-end retailers across California, documenting customer service practices, employee behavior, and adherence to corporate policies. His reports had led to significant changes in training programs, management restructuring, and in some cases, store closures. Today's visit to Prestige Fashion was particularly important. The store had received multiple complaints about discriminatory treatment, and corporate executives needed concrete evidence to address the issues. Behind the cosmetics counter, store manager Lisa Chen noticed Marcus the moment he entered. At 29, Chen had worked her way up from sales associate to manager over 5 years, developing what she considered a keen eye for identifying customers who belonged in their exclusive environment. Prestige fashion attracted a specific demographic, well-dressed, obviously affluent clients who purchased high-end merchandise without questioning prices. Marcus didn't fit that profile. His casual attire, unhurried pace, and the way he paused to examine price tags immediately triggered Chen's suspicions. In her experience, legitimate customers either knew exactly what they wanted or browsed with the confidence of people accustomed to luxury shopping. This man appeared to be studying the store layout rather than the merchandise. Chen signaled subtly to her assistant manager, Rachel Porter, who was arranging jewelry displays near the entrance. Porter looked in Marcus's direction and nodded, understanding the silent communication they'd developed for handling potentially problematic customers. Marcus moved toward the women's handbag section, unaware of the attention he'd attracted. The display featured Italian leather purses ranging from $2,000 to $8,000, arranged on glass shelves with individual spotlighting that emphasized their craftsmanship. He picked up a burgundy leather handbag, examining the stitching and hardware with the practiced eye of someone familiar with luxury goods. "Excuse me, sir," Chen approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Can I help you find something specific today?" Marcus looked up from the handbag, noting the subtle tension in her voice. "Just browsing, thank you. These are beautiful pieces." Chen positioned herself closer, ostensibly to assist but actually to monitor his movements. "Are you shopping for someone special? A wife or girlfriend, perhaps?" The question carried implicit assumptions that Marcus had encountered before. "Actually, I'm looking for myself. I appreciate quality craftsmanship." Chen's smile faltered slightly. "I see. Well, these particular items are quite expensive. Perhaps I could show you something more suitable." Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his chest that came with coded language and thinly veiled prejudice. "What would you consider suitable?" Before Chen could respond, Marcus moved toward the watch display, where timepieces worth tens of thousands of dollars sat behind locked glass. He bent to examine a Rolex Submariner, noting the price tag of $12,500. Chen followed closely, her discomfort evident. "Sir, those items require special handling. Perhaps you'd prefer to look at something else." Marcus straightened, meeting her gaze directly. "I'd like to see this watch, please." Chen hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with the request. "Do you have identification?" "We require ID for viewing high-value items." Marcus reached for his wallet and handed over his driver's license. Chen examined it carefully, noting his address in an upscale Los Angeles neighborhood, but her suspicion remained unchanged. "Mr. Thompson," she read aloud, "I'll need to see a credit card as well, just to verify your purchasing capability." The request was unusual and unnecessary, as Marcus well knew. Legitimate luxury stores didn't typically require financial verification before allowing customers to examine merchandise. He complied anyway, handing over a black American Express card. Chen studied the card with obvious skepticism, as if suspecting it might be stolen or fraudulent. "I'll need to verify this with our security desk." "That won't be necessary," Marcus replied calmly. "I'd simply like to see the watch." Chen's discomfort was now visible to other customers who had begun to notice the prolonged interaction. "Sir, I'm going to have to insist on following our security protocols." Marcus realized the situation was escalating beyond a simple discriminatory attitude into potential humiliation. "What exactly are your security protocols for examining watches?" "We require verification of purchasing ability and valid identification," Chen replied, though she was clearly improvising. "And do you require this verification from all customers or just specific ones?" Chen's face flushed slightly. "We apply our policies consistently." Marcus nodded, making mental notes for his report. "In that case, please proceed with your verification." Chen walked to the security desk with Marcus's credit card, leaving him standing at the watch display under the watchful eyes of Porter and other staff members. The obvious scrutiny was drawing attention from other customers, exactly the kind of scene that luxury retailers typically worked to avoid. At the security desk, Chen spoke in hushed tones with the security guard, showing him Marcus's identification and credit card. The guard, a middle-aged man named Patterson, looked toward Marcus with obvious suspicion. "Has he done something suspicious?" Patterson asked. "He's asking to see expensive items, but something feels off about him," Chen replied. "I want to make sure we're protected." Patterson approached Marcus with the authoritative bearing of someone accustomed to ejecting unwanted individuals. "Sir, I understand you're interested in viewing merchandise." Marcus turned to face the security guard. "That's correct. I was hoping to examine the Rolex Submariner." "Do you mind if I ask what brings you to prestige fashion today?" "I'm shopping," Marcus replied simply. Patterson exchanged glances with Chen. "Sir, these items represent significant investments. We want to ensure serious customers receive appropriate attention." "I understand. I'm prepared to make a purchase if I find something suitable." Patterson's skepticism was evident. "What's your budget for today's shopping?" The question crossed professional boundaries, as Marcus knew from his retail experience. Legitimate customers weren't typically interrogated about their spending plans, especially not by security personnel. "Is this standard procedure for all customers?" Marcus asked. Patterson's jaw tightened. "We're just trying to provide appropriate service." "I see. And what would you consider appropriate service for someone like me?" The question hung in the air with obvious implications. Chen returned with Marcus's identification and credit card, her expression suggesting she'd found some reason to continue her suspicious behavior. "Mr. Thompson," Chen said, "I've checked your information, and while everything appears valid, I'm still not comfortable allowing access to our most valuable items without additional verification." Marcus realized the situation had progressed beyond customer service issues into deliberate harassment. What additional verification do you require? Perhaps you could explain your interest in luxury timepieces. Do you collect watches? Marcus studied Chen's face, recognizing the barely concealed hostility behind her professional facade. I appreciate quality craftsmanship, and I'm considering a significant purchase. Is there a specific concern about my ability to afford your merchandise? Chen's composure cracked slightly. Sir, I'm simply following store policies to protect valuable inventory. I understand. Perhaps you could call your regional manager to clarify these policies? Chen's eyes widened slightly at the suggestion. Regional managers typically only became involved in serious incidents or significant sales opportunities. That won't be necessary. I can handle this situation appropriately. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his business card, handing it to Chen. Perhaps this will help clarify the situation. Chen glanced at the card, reading aloud. Marcus Thompson, Regional Operations Director, Luxury Retail Consultants. Her face went pale as the implications became clear. Patterson moved closer, reading over Chen's shoulder. What's a retail consultant? Marcus smiled for the first time since entering the store. I evaluate customer service practices at luxury retailers. I document how different customers are treated, identify training needs, and recommend operational improvements. Chen stared at the business card as if it might disappear. You're here professionally. That's correct. I've been documenting this interaction for the past 20 minutes. Your treatment of me will be included in my report to Prestige Fashion's corporate executives. The color drained entirely from Chen's face. Mr. Thompson, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Has there? You questioned my purchasing ability, demanded unnecessary verification, involved security without cause, and treated me with suspicion based solely on my appearance. Which part was a misunderstanding? Patterson stepped back, realizing his involvement in the incident would also be documented. Chen looked around the store, noticing that other staff members and several customers had been observing the interaction. Sir, I was simply following protocol, Chen said weakly. Really? Do you typically require budget information from customers before allowing them to view merchandise? Do you usually involve security when customers request to see watches? Chen opened her mouth, but no words came out. She realized that every action she'd taken had been inappropriate and would likely be documented in detail. Marcus continued calmly. I've visited luxury retailers throughout California, and I can tell you that your approach today was uniquely problematic. Legitimate customers aren't subjected to interrogation, credit verification, or security scrutiny unless they exhibit genuinely suspicious behavior. What exactly are you going to report? Chen asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I'll document everything. The immediate suspicion when I entered, the subtle but persistent following, the unnecessary ID and credit card verification, the involvement of security without cause, and the clear differential treatment based on appearance and assumptions. Patterson cleared his throat. Mr. Thompson, is there anything we can do to address this situation? Marcus looked at both employees with the measured gaze of someone accustomed to evaluating professional behavior. The situation has already occurred. My job is to document what happened and provide recommendations for improvement. Chen's hands trembled slightly as she processed the implications. Regional consultants' reports typically resulted in significant consequences for store management, especially when discrimination was documented. Mr. Thompson, Chen said desperately, I want you to know that this doesn't represent our usual standards. I made errors in judgment today. Marcus nodded. That's exactly what I'll report. That errors in judgment occurred and that Additional training appears necessary. At that moment, Marcus's phone buzzed with an incoming call. He glanced at the screen and answered. Marcus Thompson. Marcus, this is Rebecca Chen from corporate. How's the evaluation going at Prestige Fashion? Marcus looked directly at Lisa Chen as he responded. It's been very educational. I have significant findings to discuss. Excellent. We're particularly interested in your assessment of management practices and customer service protocols. I'll have comprehensive documentation ready for tomorrow's meeting. Perfect. The executives are eager to hear your recommendations, especially regarding any personnel changes that might be necessary. Marcus ended the call and looked at Chen, whose face had gone ashen. That was your corporate office. They're anticipating my report. Chen realized her career was hanging in the balance. Mr. Thompson, please understand that I don't usually. Actually, Marcus interrupted, based on customer complaints, I believe this is exactly how you usually handle situations like this. That's why I'm here. The truth hit Chen like a physical blow. This wasn't a random evaluation. It was a targeted investigation based on documented complaints about her management practices. Patterson stepped away, clearly wanting to distance himself from the situation. Other staff members had stopped pretending to work and were openly listening to the conversation. Marcus returned his business card to his pocket. Ms. Chen, I want you to understand something important. Every customer who walks through these doors deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of how they dress or look. Your assumptions about who belongs in a luxury environment are not just wrong, they're damaging to your business and harmful to your community. Chen nodded mutely, understanding that her actions had been documented by someone whose report would determine her professional future. Furthermore, Marcus continued, when you involve security to intimidate customers who haven't exhibited suspicious behavior, you create an environment that makes people feel unwelcome and unwanted. That's the opposite of luxury service. Marcus walked toward the exit, then paused and turned back. Miss Chen, I'll be submitting my report tomorrow morning. I suggest you use the time between now and then to reflect on what happened here today and consider how you might handle similar situations differently in the future. As Marcus left the store, Chen stood motionless among the expensive handbags and jewelry, realizing that her assumptions about who belonged in a luxury environment had ultimately determined who would be staying and who would be leaving. The next morning, Marcus submitted a detailed report documenting discriminatory practices, inappropriate security involvement, and failure to provide equal customer service. Within a week, Chen had been terminated, Patterson had been reassigned, and Prestige Fashion had implemented mandatory bias training for all employees. Marcus continued his work as a retail consultant, knowing that change happened one interaction at a time, one documented incident at a time, and one professional consequence at a time. Because sometimes the person who looks like they don't belong is exactly the person who gets to decide who does.